Hi, if you're new here, my name is Anna, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Ecuador and Galapagos trip with EF Ultimate Break. Really quick before you go anywhere, I just want to let you know I have a $100 off discount code with EF Ultimate Break. I will link it down in the description. All you have to do is use the link when you go to book a trip, and it'll take $100 off any trip if you're a first-time traveler with EF. So this is a full review on the Ecuador trip. I go into food, accommodations, excursions, money, packing, and random tips that I have. So if you want to skip around, feel free because all my chapters are up. Okay, so I'm gonna admit I'm filming this a little late as in like a year later, but it is currently December 2023 and I went on this trip January 2022. I also wanted to touch on the new Ecuador cruise that they have up, the new itinerary. This wasn't available when I booked, but honestly, I wouldn't book that new itinerary. I would stick with the old one. I'll breeze through a few reasons why. Their new itinerary has the same amount of time in the Galapagos Islands as the original trip does. Yes, it goes to a few new islands, but it misses out on Isabela still, which is the main seahorse-looking island in the Galapagos and the biggest. But it also skips San Cristobal, which is on the original itinerary, and that was one of my favorite stops in the whole trip. So I think that would be a really big loss for people going on the cruise trip. It had the best restaurants in the Galapagos and it had the best like souvenirs that I saw during the entire trip. So I think that it's a really big miss on EF's part. The cruise trip also doesn't go to the tortoise sanctuary, which was like one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to go to the Galapagos Islands in the first place, to see Galapagos tortoises. And the new itinerary also skips Baños. I spent my birthday there last year. We got to go to a waterfall that was on my bucket list, and we also got to go to this little adventure park, and then we went ziplining, which I'll talk about later, but we booked that independently and had a really good time. So overall, skip the cruise, go with the original Ecuador Galapagos itinerary. I'm going to start with accommodations first, and our first hotel was the Radisson Park Inn in Quito. The second was in Monte Selva in Baños. The third was the Deja Hotel in Santa Cruz. And the fourth was the Algarrobos in San Cristobal. So number of roommates is only one for the entire trip since it's a plus trip. The bed count was 2 to 4 beds in each room, but we didn't share with anybody, even though one of our hotels had like 3 or 4 extra beds. So the first hotel was the Radisson Park Inn in Quito, and it was a pretty standard, regular hotel. 2 queen beds, white sheets. I'd say the beds were pretty comfy. We were there for 4 nights total, so I got pretty good sleep when we were there. Cleanliness rating was a 10 out of 5. You know, they had full housekeeping and it was just like a standard hotel stay. I'm gonna give this hotel a 4.5 out of 5 because the beds were comfy, everything was clean and nice, and they had some like hangout areas for you to go sit, and I only took 0.5 off just because of location. It was like right around all of the clubs in Quito, and one night like they were just blasting music. I think it was the weekend, so that's why, but I could not sleep because we were like right next to a club and they were having a good time in there. The breakfast here was pretty standard. It was pretty good. Out of all of the hotels, I'd say it's one of the best. So the second hotel was the Monte Silva in Baños, and I thought this was such a cute boutique hotel. It had a local feel while also being nice, and the rooms were standard 2 queen beds with nice white sheets, and they had a nice pool and sitting areas, and I just loved the whole vibe. Bed rating, I'd give pretty comfy. We were there for 2 nights and I had pretty good sleep those nights. Cleanliness rating is a 5 out of 5. You know, it was pretty updated except for the bathroom, and they did full housekeeping service every morning. So I definitely give this place a 5 out of 5. It was such a cute little spot. Their food was really good, and they had hot springs in their spa on location, so you could go there. Like, me and my friend went there one night and it was hot. Like, it was so hot. Not a standard hot tub temperature, so you can only be in there for like 5-10 minutes and then you're out. The location was also really good, and the only drawback I would say this place had was that the walls were like paper thin and you could hear everybody talking around you, but other than that, it was a really nice place. Okay, so the third hotel was the Deja in Santa Cruz, and this is the first hotel of the Galapagos. So I'm not even gonna lie, the Wi-Fi was horrible here. Like, I could not do anything on my phone, and I usually have pretty good service. The rooms were okay. It was just 1 twin bed and 1 huge king bed, so if you're a couple, no big deal, but if you're traveling with like a friend or something, then you gotta rock, paper, scissors for the big bed. Each room had a balcony and the bathroom was nice enough. So one room had roaches and they found them like right before they were gonna go to bed, so they had to figure all of it out in the middle of the night and move hotels. Luckily, They didn't have to fumigate while we were all staying there, but they fumigated that morning. So we had to pack up super early before we went on the snorkeling excursion and have all of our bags down. So when we got back from the snorkeling excursion, they opened like 2 rooms for us to change in. That was kind of a mess. Like, I would have liked to have our own room to take a shower and everything instead of sharing with like 50 girls, but it is what it is. So even though I rock paper scissored and got the king bed, it was still really hard and uncomfortable. My room was clean, but the sheets had stains and other people had bad bugs and roaches, so I'm gonna give the cleanliness rating like a 2.5 out of 5. So overall, I'm probably gonna give this place a 3.5 out of 5. The breakfast was pretty good. The location was also pretty good, but dealing with all the bugs and the stained sheets and the Wi-Fi, I was glad we were only there for 1 night. So the 4th and final hotel of the Galapagos was the Algarrobos on San Cristobal Island, and this was a super unique hotel. I had never been to a place like this before. All the rooms were different, and we had a sunken in steps to our room, and our room had 2 queen beds and then 2 twin beds. The bathroom was okay, and the hot water was kind of finicky, but the rooftop was super cool at this place, even though we found a dog shit there like randomly one night. But they had a really cool lounge area as well where we could play pool and just hang out, so that was nice. For cleanliness, I'd probably give this place a 3.5 out of 5. This mattress was much comfier than other places we stayed, but the sheets were like really itchy to me for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the detergent or what. I checked for bed bugs and there weren't any, so I don't know. So overall, I would give this hotel 4 out of 5. It was really cool, like the hangout areas they had. The rooms were massive. I don't know why we had 4 beds in our room, but I liked that we both got queens. So pretty much the roof and the pool table in the lounge area made up for the crappy breakfast that was served here. Okay, so now we're moving on to excursions. The first excursion was the Equator Museum in Quito. It was kind of cool, definitely educational, but also boring at some points, and you could buy Ecuadorian chocolate. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. I thought it was gonna be cooler. Like, we just kind of walked around and got this tiny history lesson, and then they had us do all of these random like interactive things, and I thought it was kind of boring. It just wasn't for me, but I thought it was kind of a waste of like 2 hours that we could have been doing something else or have free time. A lot of people bought the Ecuadorian chocolate there, but I will say if you wait, you will have more opportunities to buy it and it'll probably be cheaper. So I don't know if this would classify as an excursion, but Cotopaxi, the day that you go to the national park, that bus ride, I was incredibly hungover. This was after the welcome dinner and the first night. I was so unwell during this bus ride. It was probably a 2-hour bus ride, but they bring you like to views of the volcano and let you take pictures, and then they take you on this walk. It took us at least an hour and a half to walk around this whole loop. We were walking around this lake, and then it started hailing. Like 20 minutes into this hour-and-a-half walk, it starts hailing on us, and it was pretty miserable, I'm not gonna lie. But at the end we saw these wild horses, and that was really, really cool. But yeah, I guess if I'm gonna rate that walk just because of the hail, I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5. It wasn't even that pretty. I would have rather had more time to see the volcano, but the horses are the only reason I'm giving it a 1. So the next excursion was El Diablo Pailon, which was in Baños, and this was the waterfall we saw on my birthday. It had a super cool staircase, and this was one of the things on my bucket list. It had just rained, so the waterfall was gushing next to that staircase. It was a short walk down across a few suspension bridges. Overall, I'd give this a 5 out of 5 because it was really cool to see, and to see that staircase like right under a waterfall, I feel like it's so unique. So the next excursion is El Chato Ranch on Santa Cruz, and this is where you're gonna see all of the giant Galapagos tortoises. First, when you get there, you sit down and have a big lunch, and the food here was so yummy. They also had really good coffee here, so even if you're not tired, definitely grab a cup. So we were here during mating season, lucky us. The first view of the tortoises we got was a male tortoise pinning a female tortoise to a tree, and then proceeded to mate with her. And we asked the tour guides how long this takes, and he said up to 5 hours. So after lunch, you go change into boots that they provide you because there's tortoise shit literally everywhere. And then they take you through some lava tunnels, which were cool. And then you get to see a ton of giant tortoises all throughout your walk. I think we were here for probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, but lunch took up most of it. But we definitely had enough time to see the tortoises. Like, they weren't rushing us at all. They kind of just let us roam around. It was really, really cool. It's definitely a highlight of the trip. But yeah, another important thing to know is that if you want a super cool passport stamp, then have your passport, because this place gives them out and you can get a Tortoise Ranch passport stamp. They also have some stuff at their gift shop here, and I don't think we saw much of it after this, so if you really, really love something, get it there. They also tried to tell us that the stuff here would be at Otavalo Market, and that was just lies. Overall, I would definitely give this excursion 6 out of 5. Like, it was super, super fun. It was really cool to see them in their natural environment, and if you also happen to be going during mating season, good luck! So the next excursion is snorkeling in Las Gritas. It was a small boat ride and then a long walk with our snorkel gear to get into the water. I was in the second group, so we were walking even slower than the other group, waiting for them to have their time to swim and everything. Honestly, I think it looked better from above than when you're actually in the water, because there's nothing to really see, it's just rock. So seeing the blue of the water from above was more appealing than like actually being in it. And when you get in there, there's nothing to see. Like, the only fish in there are just gray, boring fish, and there aren't even that many of them. So I felt like I snorkeled and went out as far as you could go and then just came back because there was nothing to see. The water was cold, so I got out before our time was up and just took pictures on the dock and had someone film us diving in with my GoPro. The snorkel in Las Gritas, I'm gonna give a 2 out of 5. I feel like we could have just walked past it. We didn't really need to get in, but it was really cool to see all the landscapes leading up to it with the cacti and everything. That was super different. And you wouldn't expect cacti to be in the Galapagos, you know what I mean? Our next excursion is also snorkeling. It was the La Loberia snorkel. Please help me, guys. Like, I cannot pronounce these words. So we had the worst weather for this snorkel. It was so unfortunate, but we made the most of it. It was raining and freezing when we went, but this was such a big highlight of the trip. There were so many sea lions on the beach when you got there and so many babies. It was adorable. Even if you don't want to snorkel, you should just go and see the sea lions that are on the shore. It was kind of miserable because when we got in, we were freezing. Just sitting on the beach, we were already really cold, but getting in the water was brutal. So there are really slippery rocks at the entrance of this beach, and there's no way around them. You gotta just fight your way over them, and then you can finally start swimming. But once you get out, there were tons of huge sea turtles and colorful fish, and we had like an hour to swim all around, and they give you a boundary, so you can't go too far, but it definitely gave us enough room to be able to explore. There were sea lions mostly near the beach, and just at the end when the water kind of kicked up because of the rain, so it was all sandy, we couldn't really see them through the water, but they came swimming pretty close to us, and even though the visibility wasn't great, it was really fun swimming with them. So definitely do this excursion. It is so worth it, even though it's early in the morning and the weather might not be so good. Go. The morning snorkel in La Loberia, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 5 because even though it was really, really cold, they can't control the weather, and we got to see so many cool animals. If the water would have been warmer, it would have been a million out of 5. So the next excursion was canceled for us. It would have been the lagoon hike. It was supposed to be early in the morning, but it was raining too hard the morning we were supposed to go. But I honestly looked at pictures of this lagoon, and it was supposed to be a little hike, and I don't know, it didn't look that impressive to me, so I wasn't super mad about it. So the next excursion is on the last day, the day that you fly out of Quito. You all pack up your stuff and get on the bus, and you go to the Otavalo Market and then the Pucuche waterfall. So this whole day was basically just filler to me. I didn't really enjoy this day that much. I think it was just to fill time before they drop us at the airport. You're on the bus all day. It's like an hour drive to this market, and then you have over an hour drive back to the airport. But they kind of just pushed us into the market for a few hours and let us go around. And they tell you that you should save your money for souvenirs for this market. Don't do it. Buy all the souvenirs that you see and like in the Galapagos, because they will not be at this market. And we thought everything that we saw at the Galapagos was gonna be here too, so we skipped a bunch of stuff. But if we had known, we would have bought so many things in the Galapagos. We bought a few things, but the whole stock didn't really impress me much. It was kind of just a lot of off-brand stuff and then a few local artisans. But Otavalo Market, I'm gonna give a 3 3 out of 5. I did not really enjoy this, and I'm not really a souvenir girl either, so I wasn't planning on buying anything. But yeah, I feel like they gave us so much time here that we didn't need, and it just felt wasted. So before the waterfall and after lunch, you go to Paguche Wasi. I'm saying that right, I'm probably not. It was basically this textile shop that these old men ran, and they were so cute. There used to be 4 of them, and then 2 passed away during COVID, sadly. But they showed us how they make everything out of llama wool, and they showed us how they weave things, and they use like OG looms. They taught us that llama wool was much softer and higher quality than sheep wool. It was super cool to experience, and the men working there have been doing it for their entire lives, and their story was really touching. And I got a blanket from Paguche Wasi, and that blanket was only $30. That's pretty cheap for a quality blanket, and it's gonna last a long time. So the Paguche waterfall was cool, you know, didn't stand out to me. It was just a regular waterfall, to be honest. The walk was like, I don't know, 15 minutes up, no big deal. It was a nice just like walk in nature before you get shipped off to the airport though. The next excursion was a tour director edition, and I had Lennon. By the way, if anyone gets Lennon, ask him to play his music for you. It was so good, and he was so knowledgeable about everything, and he was just such a good tour director. He knew everything, handled everything like that. He was super attentive and just wanted us to have a good time. Back to the excursion. So the next one was the swing at the end of the world, and you will see so many signs for this in Ecuador, but this was the best one that he brought us to. So this was at an adventure park. So this place had a bunch of different things that you could go see and do. They had a bunch of different swings that we could go on, but there was just one that was on like all the billboards because it had a big view behind it. Our tour director got us an included, so that was really nice of him. We didn't have to pay extra. Everyone lines up for the swing, and you can get good pictures because they're pushing you for like, I don't know, a few minutes. Like, it's not really quick. You have time for someone to get a good picture of you or take a good video or whatever. There's also a tree house that you climb up to see the view, and then a little zip line that people could push you on. There's also a big baño sign that you could take pictures in front of, and just like a lot of photo opportunities here. So rating for Swing at the End of the World, I'm gonna give a 6 out of 5. It was super fun, and like everyone could go where they wanted and take pictures and blah blah blah, so it was fun. The next excursion is also a tour director edition, and it was a morning hike in Baños. You don't have to pay because it's a hike. I love hiking, so I went even though it was the night after my birthday. So I was kind of tired because we were out late. The view was definitely worth it, and all the pictures I got were so good, but it was not for the faint of heart. This hike is straight uphill for most of it, and it was hard in that elevation. Like, everyone was struggling. Like, one person threw up. It was not good. It took about an hour just going up and taking pictures and then coming back down, so not long at all. I definitely recommend you do it, but maybe just don't be hungover like we were. The morning hike in Baños, I'm gonna give a 5 out of 5. It was a super brutal hike, but the view was so worth it because you get to see all of Baños beneath you. Okay, so there was only one optional excursion in this whole thing that the tour director set up that you had to pay extra for. It was $95. She was expensive, but she was worth it in my opinion. So you went from San Cristobal to Isla Lobos, and they took us on a nature walk, and you got to see frigate birds. You also saw iguanas, sea lions, and blue-footed boobies. The boobies, y'all, we saw them. And then you snorkel with sea lions, which was why I went. You get so much closer than you did in the other place, and the water was also a little clearer. And then there's a little beach where we were attacked by horseflies. You don't need to get off the boat if you don't want to deal with that, because you can't even like swim in the water or anything. Don't go on that beach. Like, they hurt. We were all bitten up. They give you snacks all day, and then also your snorkel gear, and they give you towels too, so you don't really need to bring much. I would definitely say this was totally worth it if your goal of this trip is to swim with sea lions, because that's what we did. Like, we got to swim basically right up against them, and I never expected to get that close. So definitely a 5 out of 5 for this excursion. If you love animals, go for it. So now I'm going to talk about independent activities. The first that I wanted to do was the Teleferico cable car up to the top of a mountain in Quito, and there's like no free time on this trip, and the only night that we had free time, it closed like right when we got there, so we couldn't even go up. So that was disappointing. But if you're there and you have free time, I definitely suggest going to do that because I've heard the view is amazing. So we also went ziplining in Baños, and that was $24 each, which I thought was a steal. You'd never get that in the US. There was a group of like 20 of us, was maybe 15 going, so we got like a group rate. We just walked down the street and found this company and they said that they could do it, and we literally booked the night before. We all showed up at the agreed upon time. They took us in trucks and we went. So definitely recommend doing that, but be safe about it, of course. I wish I knew which company we went with, but I'll try to figure it out. They gave us 2 different courses that we could go on, and one was like just zip lining and the other was kind of obstacle course plus zip lining, but nobody wanted to do that. But if you're gonna go do this, bring bug spray. I was wearing like crop leggings, and from like the middle of my shins down was eaten alive. When we were on the plane, my ankles were like this big. It was so bad. So bring bug spray and definitely apply it before you go. Independent activities I wish we could have done if it was warm enough is canyoning or paragliding. It's like the adventure epicenter of Ecuador in Baños, so there's like a lot of different companies that will take you to do stuff like that. So the only other independent activity that I did was, I don't know, kind of an activity, but we just got a massage when we were at the Monte Selva in Baños, and they had a built-in spa to the hotel. So for the couples massage with a friend, you'll get an exfoliation, a chocolate mask, a bubble bath, and a full body massage. And the massage was pretty good. Like, it was a decent massage, and I did that after the hike, so I feel like that was smart planning. Let's be honest, the US would charge you $33 just for a chocolate face mask. Like, so now for food, I'm going to talk about places that I went independently. So the first place was in Quito, and if you're a sushi lover, listen up. We went to Noe Sushi, and it was incredible. It wasn't too expensive and had pretty good quality sushi for the price point. There was a beautiful menu that had so many options. Like, I'm talking, this was like a 40-page menu. It was huge. And we went with 5 people, 2 groups of 2 shared platters, and I definitely recommend sharing a platter with someone because you get so much more for your money. So the second place was on Santa Cruz, and it's called Bahia Mar. The tour guide brought us here right before we got on the ferry to go to San Cristobal, so technically I didn't eat here independently, but I just wanted to give an honorable mention because it was so good. It had a beautiful view, it was right on the water, and we all got ceviche. So the next place, who knew there'd be so much sushi in this video? But the next place is another sushi place. It's called Midori, and it was on Santa Cruz. And this place felt like so upscale, and it was so random to stumble upon it in the Galapagos. Like, I was kind of confused. We also went here for breakfast one morning, and it was actually really good. So if you're looking for a breakfast place, definitely head there. Alright, don't crucify me for this pronunciation. El Rincón de Salar. We went there for empanadas, and they were so good. Our tour guide brought us here, so again, not independent, but he knew what he was doing because we all loved it. You could get a cheese, chicken, or seafood empanada. One of our friends got all 3, and I would say the cheese is the best, and the seafood was very odd, so don't get that. Even if you're a seafood lover, like, skip it. Okay, so maybe this isn't as independent as I thought, but we went to walk by the sea, and we were brought here by our Galapagos tour guides, so you get 2 separate tour guides just for the Galapagos Islands, and they brought us here when we were saying bye to them. I got a vegetable wok, and I'm not like a vegetarian or anything, but this fried rice, I ate it up. Okay, this place we actually did go independently, but we went to Giuseppe's on San Cristobal, and it was just basic Italian pizza, pasta, but we kind of wanted like a switch up because we were all tired that night and just wanted to chill, and they set up a huge table for us out in the landing for all like 20 of us to have dinner together, and that was really nice of them. I will say the pizza was better than the pasta there, so stick with the pizza. My overall recommendation is that you must go to Noe if you like sushi because you will be so happy. We walked from our hotel, and it was so worth the walk. Okay, now I'm going to touch really quickly on transportation. You're taking buses, you're taking planes, and you're taking trains. No, I'm kidding. You're taking boats. That's the big one. So it's a basic bus, and there's no bathroom on this. The longest trip is to Baños, and I want to say that was like 4 hours. So the plane ride to the Galapagos from Quito, you get on the plane, and it's an hour ride to Guayaquil, and then you have a 40-minute layover where people get off and on, but you guys stay on the plane, and then you fly into Baltra, which is the only airport at the Galapagos. The first flight we had to Guayaquil was completely full, and then the plane pretty much just emptied, speed, and everyone had rows to themselves to the Galapagos, so that was really nice. You can take a nap for an hour and a half. Once you get to Baltra, it's a literal 2-minute boat ride to Santa Cruz because it's like right across. They just load your luggage and then they load it from the boat onto your tour bus. The boat ride from Santa Cruz to San Cristobal is the one that you're going to hear about. This is a 2-hour ride on a speedboat, and it gets pretty bumpy if the water's choppy. Like, we did not have the best weather for this, so everyone felt not great. I will say going inside is going to be your friend if you're feeling sick. Like, you should not stay out in the open air, even though that doesn't sound right. You'd think the air would help, but it doesn't. So go inside and lay down. And I usually don't get seasick, but I like had to lay down and take a few breaths at one point. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about money and budgeting. They use US dollars, but everything is just cheaper. You can pay with a card in Quito, but in the Galapagos, they won't split bills. So just one person had to pay for the bill and then everybody had to Venmo or give cash or whatever. So for my budget breakdown, I spent $155 on extra activities, $330 on food and drinks. Keep in mind, on my birthday, I did not pay for one drink. So my budget would be much higher if I had paid for drinks that night. And a few nights before or after that, I also didn't pay for some of the drinks, so keep that in mind. All my guys out there, I'm sorry. I paid $40 for souvenirs. I spent $90 in tips, including tipping our tour guide and the other Galapagos tour guides. So keep in mind you have 3 tour guides to tip, but of course the Galapagos tour guides aren't gonna get as much as your TD. So my overall amount spent was $615, which I feel like for 10 days is not that bad. Okay, so now we're going to talk about packing. Listen up, because this trip is harder to pack for than other trips that I've been on because the weather changes so much depending on where you go. Okay, so here is like the packing list. Bring 3 to 4 shorts and tank top outfits for the Galapagos, 2 to 4 swimsuits. I always bring more because I'm extra, but I'd say 4 is a good number, just 1 for every day if you're in the Galapagos. Bring 1 to 2 pairs of like jeans or cute pants. You're gonna need pants when you go out in Quito because it's gonna be cold at night, so definitely bring like 1 or 2 pairs of like cute enough jeans or whatever. Definitely bring like sturdy sneakers. You're gonna be going on hikes and doing all of this active stuff, so you definitely need shoes you can rely on and that are gonna be comfy. Then bring 1 pair of sneakers you wouldn't mind wearing with like a cute outfit. I think I just brought like Air Force Ones, like it doesn't have to be deep. Bring sandals for the Galapagos because I always use them as shower shoes. You also need them because it's gonna be hot and you're gonna be going from beaches and snorkeling and stuff, so it's just nice to have just a pair of shoes that you don't have to put socks on for. And then I already mentioned this, but this one's just for the girlies, but bring more like going out tops than you would think. Actually no, it can be for guys too. Like maybe 5 cute tops and then like 3 tops that you can kind of mix around and do anything with, because we pretty much went out every night. I only brought like 2 and it was not enough. I didn't know that we would be like going out in Quito all of those nights, so definitely have outfits ready. And if you're not into going out, then don't worry about it, just wear what you want and be comfortable. So I brought a puffer jacket, like a light thin puffer jacket that you can roll up. I was also traveling in January from the East Coast, so that was easy to just wear onto the plane, but you'll need this when you go to Cotopaxi because it was cold. Bring a rain jacket because you will need it. We ran into rain a few times and I was so happy that I had it. It even hailed on us at one point, so definitely bring something waterproof. I brought a towel. It's good to have with all the snorkeling activities that you're doing. Bring a wet to dry bag. I have one that's small. It's from Tier, and I would just use it to put my wetsuits in because there are gonna be times where you don't have time to like pack away your wetsuits safely and not get it all over your other stuff in your backpack, so definitely bring like a small wet to dry bag. And bring a water bottle. This one came in clutch. We needed it pretty much everywhere. You're on the bus for so long, like you need to have access to a water bottle because you're going on hikes too, so you're gonna need that. Okay, so now for some random tips that I have. Pack for all kinds of weather because the weather forecast is just never correct. Like every time we would look, it would be something different once that day actually came. So just pack for all types of weather and you'll have something for when the time comes. Even if you're going during dry season, definitely have a rain jacket. Like the weather does not care. Just because it's dry season doesn't mean it's gonna not rain. I technically went during dry season and it hailed and rained on us, so be prepared. Okay, this is a big one. If you get motion sick at all, if there's any chance of you getting motion sick, bring Dramamine because so many people needed it on the boat ride, on these bus rides. Like, you never know. And if it hits hits you, it's gonna be so miserable. So just have it, just in case. My next tip is super important, so listen up. If you're a drinker, alcohol hits so much harder in this elevation, and your girl was dying. The first night, our tour guide didn't tell us this until after we had already had our welcome dinner, so I was already 2 drinks in because they gave us free drinks, and I was so drunk. I got up to go to the bathroom spinning. So when you're drinking, proceed with caution. Definitely have your water with you and definitely pace yourself. Like, I was so unwell the next day. Please know this tip and take care of yourselves. Okay, this one also surprised us because my birthday fell on a Sunday and everything was closed. So we had 5 birthdays on this trip and 3 of them fell on my birthday. So all 3 of us were celebrating on this one night. And of course it's a Sunday, everything's closed because it's a Catholic country. So we had to find this restaurant that would give us a private room, and then they set up a bar, and it was a good workaround. But yeah, no clubs are gonna be happening on a Sunday. So if you're looking for nightlife, there is no nightlife in the Galapagos. There are no clubs or anything in the Galapagos. Just be ready to have dinner and walk around. But yeah, our nights were pretty early in the Galapagos. So the tour director told us not to drink or rinse with tap water when you're in Ecuador, but they give you water on the bus that you can fill up your water bottles with, so that's another reason why you need a water bottle. But if you need more, just ask. You can also just stop at a store and get a bunch of water bottles if you want. So I kind of mentioned this before, but if you see any souvenir you want in the Galapagos, buy it there because you will not see it ever again, I promise. So there's another country that you throw your toilet paper away in instead of flushing it. I think that goes for a lot of like Latin American countries. When you're paying with cash, they'll usually give you dollar coins instead of bills. So if you're gonna be paying with cash, be ready for that. And at bigger restaurants, they'll usually let you pay with card, but for smaller transactions, they usually only let you pay with cash. Okay, we made it to the end of the video. So overall, I'm gonna give this trip a 4 out of 5. The animal encounters made all of those bus, plane, and boat rides worth it. They were not fun, but all the animals made me want to go back. I wish we had more time in the Galapagos than in Quito. I feel like we were in Quito a lot, and at the same time I didn't have a chance to do the one thing I wanted. That was all the information I had. I know it was a lot, but if you're hesitant in booking this trip at all, feel free to reach out, ask me any questions. My Instagram is Anna Richter, and I'd love to help. See you guys in the next one.